Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 28th episode of the Zicast. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Ziax, and today I'm joined by a couple of podcast producers, John Na and Pete Forthun. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
What's up, everyone?
And I'd like to shout out episode 26 guest, Richie Tobin, for being on the TD. Thanks, Richie.
Of course.
So really the Zicast, I really just interview my friends and get to know them more. So I'd like to kind of ask you guys about yourselves and your careers. So how about we start off by you guys telling us a bit about yourselves?
Cool. I'll start. Where do I start from the beginning? From like what school I went to?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I went to UC San Diego. I majored in visual arts, emphasis in film and television, and it was very much like an art school. And there was a lot of theory, a lot of essay writing, and we watched a lot of movies, but we didn't really get a lot of hands-on experience. And so, yeah, I basically learned a lot of what I knew on the job. And so, like, after I graduated, I worked in San Diego for like a year, and then moved up to LA, and then PA'd for like a year. Then did a lot of odd jobs, a lot of weird PA office gigs and stuff like this. And then PA'd on set, drove a lot of trucks. Then I answered Craigslist ad for it was an editor slash shooter, I think, for like $1,000 a month, and it ended up becoming Maker Studios. And so that's where my career really started, like editing. I edited Kasim G, Epic Rap Battle of History, or I didn't edit it, but I shot Epic Rap Battle of History. I worked with like Totally Sketch, Bart Baker, and all these other YouTubers, and yeah.
How long were you there, John?
I was there for like 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, 7 years.
From a Craigslist ad.
From Craigslist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pre-LinkedIn.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like at the time, I was so desperate for a job, and like the pressure, like you want to get a job right away, and like when you freelance for like a year, for that, it feels like forever.
Well, keeping in mind this was the recession,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's like you were really like a paid job. You're like, oh
Whoa.
my God, thank you so much, $1,000 a month.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It was a lot. And then my first boss were the Fine Bros. Do you know who those
I
guys
do
are?
not know.
Yeah, they're like an old school YouTube
Yeah.
React channel. They got a lot of hate like after the fact, but they were my first bosses, and dude, they were sticklers. Like my first week, they sent out a reminder email to everyone, like, "Hey, remember guys, lunch is only 30 minutes." And you get so pissed like reading that kind of stuff because you motherfucker, like $250 a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, that was the journey of like kind of learning how to shoot like really fast, learning how to work on set, learning how to work with talent directly. I learned a lot working at that place. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then they got bought by Disney. They worked for Disney for a couple of years, and then went back to freelancing, then worked at G4 after that, and then now I'm here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really interesting origin story.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Pete?
I went to UC Santa Barbara, majored in film, and same thing, like a lot of theory, not a lot of hands-on, experience. You're reading about people that have analyzed film. What should film be? And like you're kind of up in the clouds. It's like I love that. I love film history. I feel like I'm a very I like to go in depth into history and know a lot, and philosophy and all of that. I enjoy that a lot. But like what am I going to be write a book, or you know what I mean, to become a teacher?
Yeah.
Like what can you do with that? It's like, well, at some point I'm like, well, I got to learn more. So I actually went to the New York Film Academy, not the one in LA. I actually went to New York. That was at Union Square, so I got a lot of hands-on, worked on with 16 millimeter with film, and that I was so happy to do that because that was the only time I worked with actual film and processing and all that. It's like it was really, really cool because nobody works in film anymore, but it was that one moment where I got to have that, and it was great. Then moved back to LA, PA jobs. Actually, I was working on this animal documentary for free. It was like I was a cameraman, and they would go into the hood in South Central, and they'd be, these like 50-year-old white women going, "You can't chain up your pit bull like that," And I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? And there's like straight up bloods, like walking down the street, red socks, red hat, red. And I'm like, I don't want to. I'm just like, as long as I keep recording, they thought it was a good idea to have a dude from Long Beach there as their security. And it's like, but that's Blue. And he was starting shit. I'm like, that's the security. He's starting shit. It was crazy. I was doing it for free.
Wow.
Because I was like, I want to do something. But then I eventually got a job at a like commercial music video production company. This guy named Paul Hunter, he did one of his a big like 90s music videos. I don't know if you guys ever remember that basketball commercial where the people are dribbling.
Yeah.
He directed that one. You know, huge commercial director. Like not so much feature, but
Scary Movie did a good parody.
They did, exactly. I mean, it was such a huge commercial, right? But trying to transition from that to film is hard. That's what he ultimately wanted to do, but still, you know, worked there as a PA. Then landed in Maker 2012, met John. I've known John for 12 years. Worked on a lot of shoots with John. Where we when we were in it, you know, and this is the one thing, like, you're young, right? Like, finding a job that you like, and we both liked it, but we spent a lot of time like complaining because that's what we do, and we didn't realize the tools that at that time what that gave us, because the industry was changing. Now we're multiple look where we're at right now. They're looking for like, hey, shooter editors, people that can do it all. That's what people are looking for. It's very interesting to like have already gone through that and gone wearing all these different hats. Whereas things were specialized, right? You got grip, gaff, you got the ADs, you got, you know, the camera department, like you have all these art department, that's still how it operates. But when things are on the internet, it's down and dirty. And we were doing that like, you know, over, 12, 13, 14 years ago. So, you know, then after that, did freelance, worked on a couple commercials, and as an AD, do some AD work. Freelance, like a scripted show on the internet. Did that as an AD through the pandemic, which was a nightmare being an AD through the pandemic. I was just like, I mean, what am I supposed to do? I got the executive going, can you space them a little bit apart? And I'm like, this is the camera. That's the AC and the director of photography, and they're working. What do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. They have to do this. They have to.
Job, yeah.
There's no way. It's like, yeah, but you can try. I'm like, yeah, you know, maybe one person can do all the jobs then. You know what I mean? So it was tough, but good learning experience. And then George, we worked with John and I at Maker, and Bryce. This was 2021. Said, hey, come. We're starting Trash Tuesday, and brought me on because they were expanding. You know, they had Tiger Belly, Bad Friends, and then Trash Tuesday started basically January 2021. They were, I think, you know, the concept was probably before that, but basically to have some extra help. Then started work. You know, Bad Friends, Trash Tuesday was what we did for a good while before then we added extra shows. Yeah.
Interesting. And I know you guys kind of talked about like kind of what led you into Maker Studios and podcasting. So I want to ask you, like, when did you realize that podcasting was viable, and kind of what you enjoy most about it?
Yeah. I remember going to Tiger Belly early days, like episode 30. And I was like listening to it from afar, because at that point I think me and George have already left Maker. I was freelancing, and I met Bobby at Maker. I was shooting his YouTube videos, and I shot like Bobby Lee talking, and that was kind of like the first inkling of like, oh, Bobby can be a good host. Because it was like it was his version of a talk show. It was on a white site.
Yeah,
and then Santino was there.
I was on a few of those. One of them was Santino, like, because we had 3 cameras. It was just everybody manning a camera. John was the DP on the shoot,
and we would shoot for like an hour and then cut it down to like 10 minutes. But then the hour was like great. I was like, oh, you should, you know, like back then you just didn't do that, right? But when George started Tiger Belly, and then I went on set, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a hit. And it was like episode 30. For sure, yeah. Some people just have it. You just can tell when some people just have the charisma, because it's you know, like from afar, it's just talking, right?
Hmm.
But it's like, it's like it requires a lot of charisma and like storytelling, and that's really hard skill
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
to develop or even have.
And it takes somebody like George, a really look. Producing is always about recognizing talent, because somebody can have immense talent like Bobby Lee, right?
Hmm.
And it wasn't just George; it was George who put his faith in, like, I'm going to raise it up. It's like, Kalila, but just, it's a team of people that have the faith, right? But it takes that, that producer mindset to go, there is something here, we recognize it, and we're going to work for it. Because George was, working free for a while to get it up and running for years. But he had the faith, like, hey, you know what? It's going to work out. And that's what you do. You invest that time to do it because you recognize something in it. Not like, all right, time to get paid. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you got to put the work in first. It's a
Hmm.
little scary to do that because we all need money to survive.
Hmm.
But, this was at a time where George, he was working at Maker, and he's like, I'm going to give this a shot because I believe in it. And I remember
A
that.
leap of faith.
You remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
remember when he left,
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go work with." I still remember. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with Bobby. Yeah.
It also shows like how like Bobby was already so like he was famous back then too, and like it takes time. Like no one's channel just pops off.
Hmm.
I've only seen that happen once ever in my life. And that was Epic Rap Battle of History.
Mm.
And that was like the only time I've ever seen a channel go from 0 to like 10, 20 million.
Hmm.
But like outside of that, like it's really rare. And so it's most of the time it's a grind. And if you don't accept that right away, you're just not going to survive in any kind of social, like if you're YouTube or podcasting or like social media, like if you're just not grinding and like not accepting that that's going to be your future, like it's just going to be hard to be successful.
Yeah. There's no overnight successes.
There's never, yeah.
And
very rare.
you gotta love what you do, because if you're doing it, it's like, I'm gonna blow up and I'm gonna
Hmm.
make money, this and that. It's the wrong reason. You gotta go, I have a passion for this. I enjoy this. That will keep you moving. If you're like, wait a second, I'm not making any money. Well, you're not going to. At least enjoy it. Life is short, man. Enjoy what you're doing. Have fun with it. Be genuine. Be like, this is who I am. Don't do it for the wrong reasons. Like, I don't really like doing this, but I heard you make money from this. Well, then don't do it.
And that'll show too
Yeah.
if you're not being genuine with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
It's so easy to tell.
people still get into it where they're like, oh, okay, well, now I'll get famous or get this. It's like, do it because you care about it. That's the thing that's going to keep you going and not get paid, right? Because in the end, even if you don't get paid, well, I still had fun doing it, and it wasn't a waste because I actually enjoy doing it. Otherwise, you'd be like, oh, it's a waste. Why I didn't make any money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives you that kind of heightened value. Because like me doing this, I get to record interactions with my friends. So there's always something to it that even though I'm still trying to build this whole thing up, I still have so much fun doing it.
Yeah, totally. I feel like when I was younger, I was just filming my friends.
Hmm.
Like we were like not like kind of doing the same thing we're doing now, but not in a podcast form.
Hmm.
But we're just like filming in our bedrooms and stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah,
this-
and we just talk shit. But like I feel like that never changes. That kind of like, I don't know what that is. Is it like communion or something? Like just
Yeah.
hanging out with your buddies. But yeah,
Well, those are like somebody like Good Neighbor, right?
yeah,
And Dave McCary, who's married to now Emma Stone.
Hmm.
Like he and did epic rap battles.
yeah,
Like he was at Maker,
Hmm.
and him with Good Neighbor. Like there's a passion there. Like look, we're not like, Maker was so new and it's YouTube. It's not like we're like rolling in dough, even though it was this huge thing.
Hmm.
It's like, I mean, the talent, sure, but everybody started from humble beginnings. Bart Baker, I don't know if you know who Bart Baker.
I do
30.
not. No.
He would direct, produce, edit, like the whole, like we would shoot. He would spend the whole night editing, and upload it in the morning.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? This is not like, oh, the talent comes in their trailer. Like, no, this is the grind, and these are people that have put that effort in because they have a passion for it, and
Yeah.
that's the key. That's we saw that at
for
Maker.
sure. I will say like the most successful influencers had the best work ethic by far. Yeah, and it was like an unsustainable work ethic, and, you know, like unhealthy, but
It was
they
unhealthy.
just didn't stop.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it takes.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have that, Ryan?
I like to
You
I
got
like to
that
believe
going
I
on?
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, what you know, I know you're asking us questions, but what is your dream, or what do you hope for the future,
What do I hope for the future?
for your career? Yeah,
That's a big one.
specifically.
I mean, I love podcasting. I
Yeah.
love doing this. I love working here and working on the shows here. So it would be continuing to do that, and then also finding a way to work creatively in film, whatever that might look like. And so
Yeah.
I have a lot I'm still figuring out, but I'm
It's
doing the things I love like this.
That's great, because you know what it is? It's always a zigzag pattern. It's
Mm.
never a straight line. You know,
Mm.
you're here, and you never know where you end up, and you're like, how did I
Definitely.
get here? Isn't it crazy when you
Yeah.
think about it?
Peaks
Mm.
and valleys for sure. Yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
low moments, and a lot of high moments.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Like when I worked at Maker, it was like the best job ever. I thought I was gonna
Mm.
work there forever.
Oh,
And then when Disney bought the company, and you get because every employee gets a silver card for
Mm.
Disney, you're just
yeah.
gonna go to Disneyland for free.
Yeah.
Really?
So I was like,
All the
for
time.
like 2 years, I was like going
cool.
to Disneyland just for like 2 hours,
Mhm.
you know, and like, it was a dream. And then I got laid off from Disney
Mm.
the same week so I got laid off on a Thursday, and I found out my wife was pregnant on Monday that same
my.
week.
Oh.
So that was like the lowest of lows. And then
Mm.
like figuring out, oh shit, what am I gonna do with my life, right?
Mm.
Like, and so that's kind of a part of the film journey, you know.
Yeah.
Like my story is not unique. I feel like bad shit happens all the time, and when you're freelancing and you don't have that security, or you don't know where your next job is, that's kind of the life you live.
Mm.
And that's another thing you have to that's a part of working in the entertainment business, is these highs and lows, these like sometimes the very dire situations,
Mm.
and how do you navigate that? How do
Yeah.
you solve that problem?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
waves, kind of.
Mhm.
They crash.
And the best way to do that is to be good to people,
Mm.
so that the people you work with, you never know, right?
Mm.
It's like, oh yeah, I liked working with that person. There's so many times where I'd like hire somebody that has less skill, only because that other person that has a lot of skill is a fucking asshole. Sorry,
Mm.
I don't know if we can curse.
Ah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, okay. But it's true. You're like, I don't want to deal with that person. Wow, yeah, they do they're really talented, but I don't want, because you have to. It's a team effort. So whatever your team is, like, you have to work well with others. Like, well, if they're a prodigy,
Mm-hmm.
you can tolerate some, but there's like, you need both.
There's a certain level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you have to be like,
Mm.
Yeah.
so fucking
S
good.
tier.
Yeah,
S tier.
to tolerate it. Otherwise, to be like, no, get out of here. You know what I mean? I just want people to be
Yeah.
like, I don't want you to scare the actors. I remember I had a really bad DP one time, and everyone was coming up to me like, he's doing. I'm like, we got to work with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like girls are crying. I'm like, come on.
Mm.
So be good to people, because then you're gonna go, hey, you know what? I think I'm gonna hire this person because I got along with them really
Yeah.
well.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Of course, do good work, show up on time, like do your work, be a good, like all those things, like be a good team player, do great work, always improve. And somebody go, oh yeah, I got an opening. I want to talk to this person. Every job I've ever gotten,
Mm.
it's never been through a resume. I've never handed somebody my resume and go, hey, hire me. It's always been through word of mouth.
Mm.
My whole career, which is crazy, because people are like, oh yeah, Pete, I have a job over here, this and that. It's just, that's connections with people. You know how there's that saying, like, it's who you know. I used to roll my eyes. I'm like, oh, don't give me that.
Yeah. And it's who knows you. Yeah.
Yeah, but in the end, you're like, it is.
Yeah.
You gotta know people and be good.
Yeah.
People.
It's like the business is weird that way. Like it's sometimes it's more about how you get along with people.
Mm.
Like that's how like I feel like a lot of directors pick their DPs.
Mm.
Because like in LA, you can find there's a good DPs everywhere in LA, and like there's a lot in the world. But like so like a director has like the pick of the litter, but they have to do vibe checks all the time, because that's kind of what it is. It's like, do we match stylistically? Do we get along? How do we solve problems together?
Right.
You know, you don't want to like not be able to communicate with someone that's in charge of the visual image of your film, right? And so that's kind of like you kind of learn quickly. Like that has a lot of weight to it, and then
Mm.
you know, then you kind of start navigating that way,
Mm.
and it always works out.
Yeah, and
Be
finding
nice to people and stuff.
exactly, and finding the right like creative partners. Like you see that trickling down like with directors and actors. Like Samuel L. Jackson's in like every Quentin Tarantino movie,
Mm-hmm.
and
Because they
then
have a rapport.
yeah, and then the same
Yeah.
with like even composers and a lot of directors.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you can match styles with people,
Yeah.
that's so important. And then of course just like being personable, kind of like what you were talking about. I was also thinking about what you were talking about, John. When you said you would film your friends,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what you do now.
Yeah.
Just filming people
Yeah. Kind of
talking.
doesn't change, huh?
Yeah, it just evolves. It just gets better.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but it is kind of true.
Yeah, and I've also wanted to ask you guys like if you have any lessons from all your experience in your entertainment industry, or any more lessons to kind of impart.
I need lessons. Oh my god.
Always try things.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's I always use this quote from Oppenheimer: "Is that theory will only get you so far."
Yeah.
It's true. It
Mm.
really is. Like,
Mm.
well, I think I want to do this, and I think, well, then do it.
Mm.
My wife got her master's because she heard herself saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go get my master's. Oh, I'm gonna get my master's." And then one day she's like, "I keep telling people I'm gonna go get my master's, and I'm not doing it." So
Mm.
I'm applying. She went to Loyola Marymount, got her master's. I'm
Mm.
so proud of her because actually did it, because there's
Mm.
so much thinking, do
Mm.
and fail maybe.
Mm.
But doing and failing is better than just going, I'm going to keep talking about it.
Mm.
Don't talk, just keep going. George, I love what George says. Like, you got to fail a lot. Fail more, because that means you're trying,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah. You are in control of your own destiny in that
Mm.
way, right? If you don't do anything, you're not. Nothing's gonna happen to you.
Mm.
Like, I guess my best advice would be like never to say. I never said no. I
Mm.
would say yes to every job.
Mm.
Sometimes like to my detriment,
Mm.
but I always felt like I got something out of it. And like you can always like meet somebody new, and like or like learn a new technique or something.
Mm.
But like if you really want to work in the business, I feel like saying no will hurt you, even if
Mm.
it's like a small job,
Mm.
because you need every ounce of experience, every ounce of networking that you can get. And
Mm.
like to just pass something over it's really valuable. And I think
Mm.
people should really kind of keep that in mind for sure, especially young kids.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
young kids. Yeah, especially.
Don't blow things
Mm.
off. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, try everything. Work with because like John and I, like, through the recession, like, I'm working for free.
Mhm.
John's working for barely any money. It's like you just go and start doing things instead of going, I'm gonna wait until, like, no, there's no waiting.
Mm.
Get started, and you never know where that next thing leads you. Like I got in Pomona, I got an office with a bunch of buddies of mine that did, like artists, and like it was kind of the artsy center of Pomona, of like, film and like all different aspects, music, and that led to a connection to my, like, the commercial music video company, which that led to Maker Studios, which that led to freelance work for me, which that led to being here. All of that just because I took that first step,
Mm.
and that chain, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like that domino. Yeah.
That one thing, I was like, I'm going to make this decision, but it all links up because you got started.
Mm.
So just start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the day one or one day or day one quote that the Rock has. If you heard that.
No, what is it?
Wait,
Well, you said like, oh, there's day one or one day.
You know my favorite rock quote?
What?
It doesn't matter what.
yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, when we were starting out though at Maker, we were very much in this in between period where like we all went to school to work in movies,
Mm.
but the digital thing was popping off. Like I remember in my school they were phasing out film. Like I
Mm.
worked in the dark room my first 2 years and they got
Mm.
rid of it, and everything was like a computer lab after that. Like
Mm.
my junior and senior year. So we were very much a part of the transition. It was this weird time, and the 5D just came out. And that was like the first DSLR to shoot video. And so like it revolutionized, that kind of changed the game.
Oh, it did.
Because then you can shoot, like these like really shallow depth of focus videos for the first time. This like high quality HD stuff.
And affordable.
And yeah, it was like $2,000 or something like that. And then that's what we shot all of the YouTube videos at the time. And like I feel like all of us were in this weird mindset of, oh, we're this is just a job for now and we're gonna do movies later.
Mm.
But yeah, in hindsight, it was like, no, this is what it is. This is what it is now, and that's kind of how I feel with this company and podcasting.
Mm. So you think there's like a next step to take? Is that what you're thinking?
No, I think what I was kind of saying was that my mindset was over here while what was happening was right in front of my face,
Mm.
and I wish I recognized that sooner.
And then like yeah, for your generation, it's like TikTok and Instagram, right? Like
Mm.
when we started out it was YouTube. That was the new thing. Now like as you're starting out, like we were enmeshed in YouTube. You guys are enmeshed in like TikTok, Instagram of like actually creating content specifically for those platforms. Like that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like I mean Facebook, yeah, but Instagram was just pictures, like you know what I mean. Like people weren't creating content specifically for social media. I mean, YouTube is technically social media too, but it's like
Different. Yeah.
it's different. So things are constantly changing, and faster than ever. And now you're like, yeah, you have to keep your finger on the pulse. Because when we started, it was like slow change of like this transition. Now it's happening so fast, and that's why like there's strikes and there's like the Hollywood's just trying to figure it out, and that's why they're in this weird limbo of like, how do we move forward? What do we do with all of this?
Yeah, it's hard to compete with someone in their bedroom with one camera.
Yeah,
and a lot of people watching it.
Yeah, with this probably even more, probably way more, to be honest. And like the numbers don't add up. It's in the favor of the influencer, right? And it always will be because just the cost of it is so low.
Low.
And the numbers are so high.
Yeah.
Like teenagers could just go on TikTok and make millions of dollars. Like that. I mean,
it's what happened like during the pandemic, especially.
Yeah. Oh, that was but that was YouTube too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was YouTube. But now it's like you don't even have to go in. You could just on your phone.
Yeah.
Before it's like, oh, we have a team. What was it? Who's the unboxing kid? Evan.
Evan Tube.
Yeah.
HD. Yeah.
Dude.
He's all grown now. Yeah, Evan Tube.
Yeah.
We flew out to his house twice in Sacramento, and every time it was a bigger house.
Really?
Yeah. He was making so.
And it was already a big house to begin with.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it's so accessible too, and so like the shorter form content that it's just like so easy to consume, and people consume so much of it.
Yeah.
And this kind of transitions us like perfectly into my next topic, which was kind of your guys' thoughts on the entertainment industry and its future.
The future, yeah. I mean, right now it doesn't look good for films, for sure. I think it's more leaning towards like cheaper content, whatever that becomes in the future, because it's always changing, right? I thought for a second it would be live streaming, but it's like, it's just too much of a toll on the live streamer. It's like they have no life. It's a lot of hours you gotta put in, and like I feel like most people don't want that life. It like looks appealing from afar, because they have so much money, but like when you actually like work with these live streamers, it's hard, and you're never meeting new people like in real life, and like you're always in your bedroom. Like how much do you grow as a person if you're live streaming 60 hours a week for 5 years? You know what I mean, right? So
yeah, that's true.
I just don't see a future in that. Really. It has to be more has to be even easier, I feel like. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all about accessibility. Whatever's the easiest to access and watch is going to be the king. I think that's why YouTube took off so fast, and like why social media is so successful. It's just so easy to access.
Oh yeah. The kids are growing up on YouTube. Like YouTube, when did YouTube start? 2005? It's already in college.
Yeah, probably before.
Yeah.
Because I remember learning about YouTube in college.
Yeah,
like
me
Lonely
too.
Girl 15 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was a trip. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you know Lonely Girl 15?
I do not.
That's like oh my god, they're like Lonely Girl 15 was an OG YouTube channel, like one of the first, and like it was just a vlogger to camera, and there was this whole story of like breaking up with her boyfriend and like her love life, and then it turns out that it was all scripted, and so like one of the biggest the first big YouTube channel was fake.
Hmm.
I thought that was fascinating. Yeah.
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 And then after that was a bunch of and then Smosh was of course really popular because their video got stuck on the homepage. So like if you went to the old YouTube homepage, there were like 8 videos that were always shown, and Smosh was one of them. Their Pokemon video.
Hmm.
You know that one, or the
I do
Mortal
not.
Kombat one, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like that was my high school days. Like watching, I'm like, whoa, this is weird.
Yeah, so
But
like what are my like kids, you know, what are they going to consume in high school, college? Like what content, right? Like I think TV and movies will still be around. It's like it's hard to say because everyone's trying to figure out streaming and what to do with that because everyone's like, what's the breakdown here? They still don't know. I think they'll figure it out eventually. But I think people doing it themselves is going to be more attractive because they're like, well, I mean, I could wait around and get like a, you know, some a buyout, whatever, for like this movie or whatever, and I could stream, or I could just start my own business and do it myself and not rely on studios, this and that. Like, I think the Nolans and the Denis Villeneuves, like they'll get, you know, basically blank checks because they're going to bring the people in, right? But then there's going to be the indies. But I think like that middle ground is going to be, it's like either you're here or you're here, and then everyone's just going to be doing their own thing.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. Like the whole, you know, middle, you know, the medium budget of like maybe 50 million movie. It's either going to be like 20 or like 150 or 200, you know, like you know, the big blockbusters, or the small, like more of like the not necessarily indie but lower budget to try to like, you know, you're taking a smaller risk for a movie. Like A24 does a really good job of that, of not having blockbusters, but they have a brand. You know what I mean? Like A24 is fascinating to me.
Their style, or was it tastemakers?
Yeah.
They have good taste.
They feel like what HBO like was. I mean, Max is still good, but like that brand, we're like, I can trust HBO. I know this show's probably going to be good. A24 is it's the same thing. Like, I have a feeling this movie's probably going to be good because I trust this brand. I've never seen that before. You know, I've never gone to the theaters and saw, oh, Miramax. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, now you see A24, you're like, oh, I know A24. You know what I mean? Like, that didn't it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Now you see A24, you're like, oh, I know A24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see them branching out too to doing films like Civil War, which is like a big action war movie. It's not even like the kind of smaller independent stuff.
Yeah.
We got used to them doing, so even they're elevating.
Yeah, they're investing more. But yeah, it's hard. It is hard to say. But the one thing I'll say is that I think people will start innovating and doing it themselves. When something gets disrupted, they go, time to invent something or do something, like create something on my own without relying on a big studio.
Yeah.
Somebody to give you a chance.
I can see the next big thing being like very parasocial. Like
What do you
lean
mean?
into the more parasocial aspect of entertainment. Kind of be like, the line gets more muddier of like, oh, I fall, like, you know, I feel like that's kind of the future, like following specific people and then like having them just entertain you, you know, just by them living their life. And I think like people will like, so I think that's kind of the future of entertainment.
Like more of a cinematic vlog, so to speak.
Yeah, way more. Like maybe it's in VR or AR or something. I don't know. But
like living someone's life.
like literally living someone's life. Yeah.
There's some.
And you get to pick like, you know, different good-looking dudes, or like maybe you want to be a girl one day.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's something to that because like, I mean, I think especially after the pandemic, this is ramped up, but we're all more isolated and we want connection. So that feeling of like being connected to somebody could be a thing. Like I want this because it makes me feel fulfilled.
They always say the right thing. They never like get scared to approach people. You know, like everything that you wish you could be. And then you just like, oh yeah, I want to be that person. And then you literally live their life.
It's like people subscribing to OnlyFans and they get messages back and stuff like that's literally like their assistant, just like, you know what I mean? But they want to feel connected. It's more than just like, sorry, I mean, it's like, it's more than just watching porn. It's like, it's more, you know what I mean? You're like, this person knows I exist. you know, and you have this fantasy in your head, like maybe we'll meet one day, you know what I mean? Like, but there is like that like feeling of, oh, I'm connected. Want to be connected with this hot porn star. I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like that's that feeling of being connected that I definitely see, you know, in people that just that they want. I don't know. They want some sort of relationship, some sort of love, even if it's fake. I think deep down inside they know it's fake, but it's somehow
Yeah.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
something.
We just want to be loved.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
Just touch me, Ryan.
Do it. There you go.
Nice. Nice. So basically, just like the style of entertainment. is
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
changing.
It's
for
always
sure,
going to
yeah,
exist.
yeah.
It's like, but how does it
Yeah.
exist? Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, films, television. Like, I read an article about like how the entertainment industry is now, and then they decided that like a couple years ago, 600 shows were premiered in 1 year.
Mm.
I'm like, that's insane. Like, I like watch maybe 3 shows a year,
Mm.
right? At best, I was like 600. Who's watching any of that? You know what I mean? That's like that's not sustainable at all.
Mm.
So it's interesting that was like really eye opening to me. It's like we were really in this crazy streamer war time, and it's like it all collapsed, and like now we're in like the collateral of that, you know, like
Mm.
the wake of it,
Mm.
and it's bad. It's like they're all saving money and like they're not
Yeah.
shooting anything.
Well, here's the scary part, like, because John and I grew up with like cable TV and,
Mm.
you know, watching shows. You have programming, right? And now it's just like Netflix or Prime or whatever. It's like, here's thousands of shows.
Mm.
And it's all like, it all kind of waters it down. You're like, you keep looking and looking. Ah, maybe I want this. And then it takes you forever. And then maybe you don't even decide on anything because there's so much to choose. Whereas you turn on the channel, hey, I watched my favorite show on Fox at 8 p.m. And then you might catch the next show because the next show's airing. And all of a sudden you're watching Fox programming. You're watching this brand. Or you're watching, I loved Adult Swim. I would start Adult Swim. I think it started at like 9 or 10 to like 2 or whatever. Like you would watch it as like this part of this programming, this experience. And I miss that. Now it's like choose your own investment into something that, you know, and you watch it and you're like,
Yeah.
you know,
Remember Snick?
yeah.
Yeah. You remember Snick? Saturday night Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was like all
yeah,
that
yeah,
and
yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that kind of.
I watched
That was sick.
all
That was
those
like
shows.
2-hour blog, right?
Mm.
And at the end, was it Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
At,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I love
Scared
that
the
show.
shit out of me.
Mm.
So good.
Fuck, it's so scary.
Yeah, there was like in the cable days. They were more focused on keeping you on the channel.
Mm.
So it was like a different strategy
Yeah.
for sure. And then later on, like when reality shows became a thing, I feel like that's when cable died.
Mm.
When every channel was doing a reality show, it
Yep.
was like, oh, but this is over. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's garbage.
And then think about what Your Mom's House is doing. Like, there's a brand, right? You go there and you have multiple shows to choose from, all comedy adjacent, but you have that sort of programming where it's like, here's the channel, it's a one-stop shop. You can choose all these different shows just here.
Yeah, I would say Jubilee does a good job too.
Mm.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I feel like that's the future of YouTube. If you want to start it as like a company type channel, like that, those are good examples of expanding your brand from just one show. You know,
What's the A24 of YouTube? You know what I mean? Like, what channel is that? Where you're like, I trust this brand. Like, you have to have that brand trust,
Right.
you know?
BuzzFeed was that for a second.
Yeah.
For a second, yeah.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
I could think of one brand,
Oh, yeah,
7
there you
Egg
go.
Keys,
Yeah.
where you
That's-
can
that
trust
was,
their quality.
But that was Maker's downfall, was that they couldn't figure it out.
Mm.
We couldn't figure out how to make a brand channel like just like everyone else. We tried to. We had the station and stuff, but
Station, yeah.
it just wasn't as successful as like Vice, you know.
Mm.
Because Vice was more centered on its goal. We were doing we're doing fashion,
Yeah.
comedy,
We were all over the place.
adventure, like all the genres, every single one you could find.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the thing, is that you spread yourself so thin
Totally.
putting your, you know, everything in all these baskets, and it's just, you have to have a few that you do really, really well.
Mm.
It's like going to a restaurant and you're like we have
Cheesecake
everything.
Factory, yeah.
Yeah, we do everything. Mediocre. It's like, no. Have your specialty. What are you In and out? You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's a line out the door for In-N-Out because what? Burgers. That's why I do them really well. And I stick to it. Hey, you want to expand and do a chicken sandwich or something? Like, no. This is what we do. And we do it well. And people still, every time I go to In-N-Out, and you've been to In-N-Out here.
Oh yeah.
There's a line, man.
Yeah.
It goes fast.
Huge. Yeah.
But there's always a line because there's that trust. It's like, I know what I'm getting. I'm getting this specific thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And kind of YouTube evolved that way too. Like every you make an ASMR channel, you make like a chiropractic channel, you make a fishing channel. Like that kind of just happened. It evolved on its own in that way. And I think people just naturally just do that. They want to watch, they want to watch things that they're interested in and that people are good at themselves, and then kind of live vicariously through that,
Very interesting. Kind of like what you said with entertainment, like the VR entertainment. Live vicariously through people, and like kind of like Seven Day Keys does well. It's comedy.
Yeah.
And we've kind of centered on that. And I'm excited for the potential of like branching out further, like doing sports stuff, because I think that's like really interesting. And kind of moving onwards to like maybe some more personal questions, like what are some things that people might not know about you?
I was a boxer for several years. Senior year to, not professionally, but senior year to sophomore year of college. Had one fight. It was a fraternity event. I was like, I fought for the fraternity, but I wasn't in it because I just felt like, I don't know. About
Yeah.
these guys. I was like, UCSB was already like a hardcore party school, and I could always go to the events, that my buddies were in the frat. And I was just like, I don't know. These guys feel slimy to me. And anyways, but I fought for them in front of 5,000 people. It's crazy. I was, 18 years old. So yeah, boxing. Showed my boxing video to Gilbert and David and Nick.
Casuals,
On the casuals. They watched it. I brought in the video.
Yeah, you should spar Gilbert.
Well, I'm planning on going with them. They spar and do stuff in Pasadena. It's just right down the street from me. I was like, oh yeah, I wanna go. Yeah.
And how'd your fight go?
Well, I won.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Oh, I didn't say that part. Yeah. Yeah. You're like, how'd it go? Did you? Yeah. Get your ass kicked?
Yeah.
No.
That's
The
amazing.
lead up is more interesting than the actual result.
Yeah, because it's scary. Because there's all the people there. Like people are drunk and screaming. Like and you're
It's like a hostile environment.
dude, my legs were jello, man. I was so nervous. Like you imagine giving a speech in front of 5,000 people, but fighting, and you're like, oh, I gotta not look like a fool. Like you basically get your ass kicked if you don't. If you don't do a good speech, it's embarrassing. But like getting your ass kicked in front of 5,000 people, like I didn't want to do that. But yeah, that was fun. I'm glad I did it. But then I got broken blood vessels in my nose, headaches, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna get I'm in college. I'm not gonna get my brain knocked around, get CTE. What am I doing? But I enjoyed
at
it.
Huh? You guys went at it.
Well, I mean, just from sparring. Like this was just from sparring.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Like just from
Did you knock him
continual. No. I was
kick
more
him
technical. I was more like
gotcha.
landing punches. I was never a power puncher. More about speed, but just like sparring.
Was he the same weight as you?
He was heavier. He was like
What?
10 I think he was like 20 pounds heavier.
Damn.
Wow.
Did he hit hard?
He was a rugby player.
Oh, what the hell? So he was like in shape and stuff.
Yeah. He was a burly guy, but
Did he hit hard?
he did. But I always had a good chin.
Nice.
You
like read him after a while.
Yeah, but like even if I took a hit, like I could take a hit. My defense was just taking the hit, not falling down. I could have had a little bit more defense, but yeah, I just landed a lot more punches than he did. But yeah, that's my fact about me.
Did you have like a cool boxer nickname?
No cool. I was really skinny. I was light heavyweight, 180 pounds.
Damn. You were 180 pounds.
180 pounds.
When you fought, hit that dude. So he was like 200.
Yeah, I think it was like 195 ish. Yeah, high 190s. Yeah. But yeah, I was. Oh man, That was a time where I ate 3 Chipotle burritos in one sitting.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Bulking up.
I always talk about it. Yeah, I ate 3. I would just get so hungry, but I do that now and like I'll be in the hospital. Yeah. My friends had to tell me to stop. I was going to keep going because I was like,
Mm.
oh, this is kind of fun. I'm like, how much can I eat?
Yeah.
They're like, please stop. Please
God.
stop doing this.
Yeah. I'm in that phase now of just being constantly hungry.
Yeah, I mean, sure, especially if you're like working out all the time, whatever.
Mm.
Yeah. But I was real thin, too thin because I
Mm.
was like, I gotta stay under a certain weight and whatever. I was like,
Yeah.
I get very like obsessive about things. So like then I look back, I'm like, holy shit, I was way too skinny. But
Mm.
but you know, if you're a higher weight, then you have to fight higher, whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, so much in the fighting technique, discipline, that translates to like everything,
Yeah.
like film, like doing this.
Yeah, because I played baseball in high school,
Hmm.
and that's a team sport. But yeah, I was a pitcher, and that feels very like an individual. You know, it gets very lonely up there on the mound. Like
Mm.
boxing is the same thing. It's like you only have yourself,
Hmm.
right? You know, basketball you could like pass or shoot. Like
Mm.
you have options. You know, when the ball's in your hand when you're pitching, it's just you throwing it.
Mm.
You're not throwing it to somebody else who throws it. It's you. When you're boxing, it's just you that's throwing the
Mm.
punches, right? So there's this feeling of like you only have yourself to blame.
Mm.
Glad I did it because it's like it's all on you. You're taking the control. You're the one that's relying on yourself. But I mean, also team sports. I loved playing baseball, and you learn a lot how to work well with others.
Mm.
That was the biggest thing I learned about myself is when I lost. Well, when the team won, but I didn't do well, I would be really upset.
Mm.
I look back, and that was immaturity because no matter what, if you don't do well, but your team does well, you succeed.
Mm.
And that's what I look back when I learned. I was like, well, that's immaturity. But then I grew to understand it's about the team. If you're part of that team, you grow together.
Mm.
It's not like I have to do well and that means something. It's like, no, you're part of something bigger.
Mm.
So rise together. And that's important to learn.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's an incredible lesson.
So, so I've shot porn accidentally. So I worked with Kasim G, you know, we shot a lot of Man on the Street stuff, and he got invited to this event, like a press event for this company called VIP Tours, and the concept of the tours was you get 2 porn stars, and you pay up front, and then they come along with you on a party bus. It's it's usually a group of guys, right? And then they take you to this sex store, and you buy a sex toy for them. Then they'll take you to Spearmint Rhino, and then you can buy a lap dance from them.
Okay.
And then they drive you to Chatsworth. We meet in Hollywood. So we meet in Hollywood like at 7 p.m., right? We don't even eat dinner. You know, because they said they're going to feed us, right? So we're like just drinking, you know, having a good time, and like we're rolling around. We're like, okay, we're spending like 30 minutes at every place. It's like before you know, it's like 10 o'clock. We're like, everyone's starving, and like no one wants to lap dance. We just want to eat our pizza. And so we're like, okay, let's get to the fucking porn set, right? We get to a porn set, and like they start doing the deed, right? And the guy, he can't finish. And he's like, I can't finish. There's too many people staring at me. So, so he takes like another half hour. He like leaves the set, takes a half hour to himself. Like I'm filming everything, the whole thing. I'm filming from the start because, you know, like Kasim's just always on, and he's just like interacting with people or the porn stars, kind of just making jokes. But like, yeah, that was a wild trip. We ended up eating pizza at like 11 p.m. and everyone was just like hangry and like weirded out. And like, they gave out Jabberwocky masks when they started, because they filmed it for themselves to the porn. So I'm sure that's somewhere up there. You can probably see my face somewhere.
Wow.
But and everyone in white Jabberwocky masks.
What?
So weird. Yeah.
It's like Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah. And like while they're having sex, I just got in there. I was like, I just can't pass this up. So yeah, shot porn accidentally.
Wow.
I think it got edited and it never got released. So it's on some hard drive somewhere in the ether.
Yeah, and Jabberwocky, that's the title of Andres' next movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The circle's back.
Yeah.
I hope there's dancing in it.
Yeah.
You
That's I had never heard that story.
know.
Yeah.
I have another embarrassing story. I crashed my car the day of my graduation in front of everybody.
Really?
Like, cause our high school graduation was at San Diego State,
Hmm.
which is like a way bigger. Cause like we just had a lot of kids at our school, and like they had like we just did the Viejas Center back
Hmm.
or the basketball court,
Hmm.
and like we were like driving up this parking lot, and I was just trying to be all cool and driving fast, and like I pulled in too quickly into a parking spot, and there was a yellow pole. You know, like the pole that like prevents you from flying off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just ended up smashing into it from every like right because it was right in front of the elevators.
Yeah.
So everyone was walking to the elevators. I was like, oh, dude, yeah,
Yeah.
that was not fun.
Yeah, right in front of
Yeah,
At least you didn't hit someone else's car.
yeah,
That would have been
no, for
even
sure,
worse.
yeah. Oh yeah, but yeah, that was very humbling.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it worked out. I got a new car.
Yeah.
And that was a fun story to
Yeah,
tell on the
fun,
Zicast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of speaking of humbling, I'd like to ask you guys some of your goals moving forward for yourselves and all your shows and the company.
I think like my goals now are like. That's an interesting question. I think I've really reassessed my life the last 2 years, 3 years, or maybe since COVID. Like now that I have 2 kids now and I have a family, I kind of like enjoyed, being a family guy and like kind of thinking of their future and I kind of want the best for them. So like I kind of have to be less selfish now, right? Because it is a very selfish industry. Like you have to like put your career first, because there's a lot of like every day is 12 hours minimum, right? So it's 13, 14 hours, including the commute. Like you don't really have time for a personal life, and so that's kind of something I'm like willing to walk away from now. I feel like I think 10 years ago I wasn't. I wanted to like kind of really be in this industry, pursue it, but I think now I'm more about stability and like finding something consistent, working with my friends, and like, just less on the grind, on that film grind at least, yeah.
Kind of settling in.
Yeah, and like, kind of settling in, yeah. Finding my groove.
Awesome.
Spoken like a true dad.
Yeah.
Right there with you, John. And that's I mean that's exactly my feeling too, is that you always are filtering things through your family, like in how you see things. So it's it how does it affect your family? Like I when my son was born, I was still working like as an AD. I'm in charge of the set. I'm spending hours awake with my son, barely getting any sleep, and then managing 30 cast and crew and keeping everybody on schedule. And then when I'm off, I'm taking care of my son because my wife is working, like, that. And I loved it. I liked being on set. There'd be times where I remember a scaffer came up to me. We were shooting an overnight and we're out like in the woods somewhere. And we were going on our like 13th or 14th hour. And he's like, "Come on, man, can we just?" And I was like, "No, we're gonna get done. We're gonna keep shooting." And they're like, God, dude, come on. I'm like, no, it's gonna be less expensive if we finish it now. We're already here. We're already gonna shoot. Like that's me. If I'm there, I'm gonna fucking push and keep going, because that's. But all the meanwhile, I have my son at. You know what I mean? Like I can't do that. Even if I like it, I can't do that because I still have a family. I need to give my time to them. So yeah, having something that's flexible, but also something that you enjoy. So, working at Seven Keys has been such a dream because I truly enjoy it. The people here, the content that we make, and I'm not taking home frustration, right? Of like, especially if you're like, you really despise what you're doing, you take that home and it affects your family. So everything you're thinking about your family, right? So being there, making sure you're mentally stable, like all of that, it all once you become a dad, you think about that in those terms of like family terms. So that's always like, how can I be mentally stable and like truly enjoy what I'm doing, but also it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard thing to explain because you don't let go of those ambitions. It just shifts in a way that it also includes your family. Doesn't mean once you have kids, like, oh, it's all done.
Definitely, yeah.
I'll never do this again. It's like your life isn't over. Your dream isn't over. You just care about your family and you want to make sure you're present for them, and
Yeah.
it works out. The balance between family and work
Mm.
it works out.
Yeah, it kind of like grounds you, and so to speak.
Yeah, you have to. You can't be working and then go, all right, after work let's get some drinks and like socialize and talk about business. Like it doesn't. No, you're going home.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
You could do that maybe maybe a few times, but that whole like let's network and this and that, like but I have to find a time. Maybe we do it this, like you sacrifice, like maybe another time I gotta go home. I got my kids, like I gotta go take care of them, literally.
Yeah.
I have a 2-month-old, like
You do become more efficient that way.
you
You
do.
like pick and choose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and you make it work.
I think when you're single, you just do everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, whatever sounds fun. But like
Yeah.
now that you have responsibilities, you
Mm.
kind of like are more like a sniper.
Yeah.
But,
Kept honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like you're right. Like you're like definitely my ambition isn't lower. I still I want to be I want to be rich,
Yeah.
But I think just the time away from the family is not worth it anymore.
Mm.
And there's like other jobs in the industry where you can have a home life, you can have work-life balance, and like I'm just choosing that as opposed to the other grind that's a lot of fun but also very grueling, and like yeah, it's hard to walk
Yeah.
away. It's not easy. It's not an easy choice, but
You kind of always have them in the back of your mind.
yeah,
And that kind of shapes how you live your days.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you do takes away from something else. Once, especially you're a family man, right? Like you could take an opportunity as like, hey, I'm gonna go for 3 months in Australia to shoot a movie. Okay, but you're gonna be gone from your family for that long, or maybe they come with you for a little bit, but you're not being a family man. That's just. And my daughter's 2 months. It's like we're like, all right, we're done with 3 kids. So each day that she ages is a day that we'll never get back. So if you spent all that time working, you've missed those days, and you have to miss some because you have to provide and you have to work, which is fine, but you could be too much, and you could look back and regret because you're like, oh, I couldn't go to this because I was working. I couldn't go to this.
Yeah.
Like priorities. Yeah.
What? And you think like, what would my kids rather have? Be rich and have a bunch of not have everything, or have a present father? And the answer is both. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they want, but
The best of both.
you know what I mean? Like, you got to be present. Do you think Elon Musk is hanging around his kids all day? No, dude, he's fucking, running the world. He's not gonna be a dad. It's like the whole world is his children. Like that's what he does, right? But I'm sure his kids are like, well, I guess we don't really have a dad. Like he's not there making them dinners.
Yeah.
Somebody else, somebody that they've hired, like, is doing that. But if it's you that's there, the person that brought you to the world, that's
Makes all the difference.
different, because everybody wants their dad, everybody wants their mom.
Yeah, that reminds me of a story. I did a talk at my school like a couple years ago, and I was on the panel, and there was another older gentleman who was in the union for like 40 years as a first AZ, and like he was like very experienced, but he worked a ton. He worked like job after job in the heyday of film, and so he went from job to job for like years, and like his biggest regret was not being there for his son. And like now he's retired, has a house in Hawaii, and like his son doesn't even like they don't have a good relationship. And that was like super eye opening, because I was like, dude, that could easily have been to anyone in the film industry, because it's like his life is not unique to any other person in the film industry, right? They all work the same hours, they all work the same lifestyle, so it's like it's just hard to like I don't know, for me it's hard to accept that having that type of relationship with my kid. I just don't want that.
Your currency has to be quality time.
Yeah.
And you make money to have that quality time. That you make money so that maybe you can work from home or consult or whatever. Maybe you grind so you can get to that place. But if you're grinding more and more away from home, or away, like things are pulling you away from that, then there's a disconnect. So you're grinding so that you can have more time, or maybe you take more vacation. Like you're grinding so you can free up. I don't know, something like so you can make your situation better with your family, where you can be there and yeah, have that balance.
Yeah, and I think about like when I had Andres on here and I talked to him about being a father and his ability to kind of juggle everything is just something my brain can't fathom now as a younger man. But I know as time goes on, I'll kind of look back and realize and kind of like what you guys are saying, like the just how much that can resonate.
Yeah. Would you have kids?
Um, I always say that I haven't met the special person that would make me consider that yet,
Oh yeah, but you would
Sure.
consider it though.
but I would consider it.
How many
Yeah.
kids? You look like you would have like 4.
I look like a poor kid.
Yeah.
um,
Are you
I,
Catholic?
I am Catholic. Yeah,
Oh, then 6. Yeah.
I'm,
6.
yeah,
Adding 2 more.
I'm Catholic
Um,
too. My wife's Spanish. It's like I always tell people they're like, "Oh, you have 3 kids." Like that's what happens when Catholics get together, man. I don't know
Yeah.
what to tell you.
Yeah, I that's for down the road, but this is all stuff that's very very important to hear.
For sure. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's
you-
life, man. That's what we're talking about. We're just
Yeah.
talking about life.
And you don't really think about it until it happens to you because you can't really understand it.
Mm.
No,
know?
yeah.
Nothing is crazier than the first night with your firstborn. That first, because you don't know what that no one can tell you anything. And
Dude,
you'll never be ready.
When you have to leave the hospital,
Yeah.
you're like, "All right, bye, good luck."
God, yeah.
When you're at the hospital, the nurse like, "Oh, let me swaddle, let me change the
Ugh,
diaper." This.
yeah.
By the way, with my third, they didn't even show up. They're like, "Oh, you got it. You've already
Yeah.
done it." The first, they were like, they did everything
Mm.
right, and the third, they're like, I was looking at my wife like, "Remember when they used to do like everything? Like they haven't even
Yeah.
come in
Your experience.
because they know they're like, oh, that's a
Yeah.
third."
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then that's true. The anxiety. It's like, yeah, it's hard, but there's a calmness. That first, rock your world, man.
Mm.
Yeah, in a beautiful and scary, but beautiful way. Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah. That's what happens when you talk with 2 dads. You start
Yeah.
talking about our kids. This is what happens. Like that's you know what I mean. Like, hey, tell me what career. Like, I'm like, well, our kids.
Yeah.
That's it. Just happens that way.
Well, I could give you guys a topic that I know you love to talk about, and that's what are some of your favorite movies?
Yes.
Some of my favorite movies. Okay. Well, I mean, let's get the classics out of the way, right? Like Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, Terminator 2, Aliens.
Oh, you like the sequels?
I like the sequels. Yeah. What else? I mean, E.T. of course, like Star Wars, Raiders. And then so like those are all. I love all those movies. I love movies. I love all movies. But my movies I like personally, they're my top 5. Rotating in and out. Amadeus.
Ooh, yeah.
Thin Red Line.
Ooh, beautiful.
I probably put Aliens in there, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, top 5. What else? Pulp Fiction, and then Requiem for a Dream. Yeah, for all dark movies. A 7.
7.
Seven.
Yeah.
7.
Wait, who did Thin Red? Is that Terrence Malick?
Terrence Malick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love a good Terrence Malick.
Yeah.
Days of Heaven is pretty good up there too.
Oh,
Up there,
I've never seen Days of
Yeah.
Heaven.
Melancholia. I love Lars von Trier. Like a really like dark movie.
Seen that one.
Yeah. And
But I go with phase. I love all movies. I really do.
mm,
Like I think movies are very important in my life because they different phases of my different years of my life. We're into different things and like learned a lot about myself. Like I used movies when I was a kid to like learn emotional intelligence. You know, like because I was like grew up in the suburbs in San Diego. I was like the only like very few Asian kids. You know, all white people, and like it was hard to really meet or like learn about the world, right? I lived in a bubble, and like my way of learning the world was like watching movies of different cultures, different languages, different types of people. You know, that's what it's great for. But yeah, I think I was just drawn more towards like darker stories. You know.
and you recommended Pleasantville
Oh yeah,
and The King
Pleasantville.
to me. I watched them both.
Oh yeah, what'd you think?
Both very very good.
Yeah, I love like films with very strong themes and very like, you know, like I love Pleasantville because like a close up isn't just a close up, right? Like when directors make a close up and have put a lot of meaning into it, I appreciate that a lot. Right.
Yeah, it's not just coverage.
It's not just information. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like there's a feeling behind this. Like this Spielberg. That's what makes Spielberg so good. Is his close-ups. Like he was like kind of like always had that push in, and like they're always like looking away into camera or away from camera, or like they have some sort of emotion in their eyes. It's like so simple, but it's very powerful.
Oh, like when he shows
Yeah.
Oscar Schindler and it's just his eyes.
Yeah, and there's always atmospheres like smoke or the wind's blowing, the lights either dynamic, and like
Oh,
it's like all these different elements.
same
coming
thing
in.
when Oscar Schindler puts up the dollar and the light. There's like
Yeah,
like almost like a spotlight that's just
Yeah.
beautiful. It's like
totally.
that. It's a work of art.
Yeah,
A work of art in such a sad,
yeah.
dark story. You know,
That could easily
That's
been shot like here, like this, with
Yeah.
like my shirt in the background. But they chose to like, that's a
have a
choice. It's
special-
like
yeah.
it's that's why they get paid the big bucks. Like they're making those choices, and like I think film like that's a requirement to be a good film. These cinematic elements, like
Yeah.
like reflections and like fire, water, like what else? Like I don't know. There's always these common traits that good films have that like make it cinematic, and like I have like very much hold dear to that dogma.
Yeah.
I think there are like certain things you have to do, but
Yeah. Art should make you feel something.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all about feeling,
Yeah,
emotion.
it's all about feeling. How do you do that though? Yeah, that's the thing. Those are the great masters of
Yeah.
film. You know.
Well, yeah, what's also great about film is that people have repeated certain shots where it kind of becomes a feeling, Like, what's a good example? Like a Zolly, like the Vertigo shot, right?
Right.
Like, that's been repeated many times, but as soon as you see it, you know the feeling you're getting. It's like someone getting, like their world is changing, or an emotional shift, or like something, they just have witnessed something life changing,
Or even just something as classic as like a Dutch angle, right?
Yeah.
Like something is awry, right? The camera
Yeah.
tilts, and you're like, wait, I'm something isn't right. The camera's not right, right? The framing isn't right. It's on it's that evokes like, wait, I'm used to seeing this and something's off. But that's just a simple, that's a simple thing of just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And like with Pleasantville, I noticed like all like the Citizen Kane references
Yeah.
in the cinematography.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really like striking as well.
Oh yeah, that movie is pretty underrated, I think. Yeah, just going from black to colored, like that's like very obvious, but I think it's very powerful.
Yeah.
And like there's a
How-
lot of like parallels to the Book of Genesis, the Bible, like with the apple and like
who directed? I haven't seen Pleasantville.
I forget the name, but he directed Seabiscuit.
Oh, okay.
Like
Another
yeah.
Tobey Maguire, yeah.
yeah, Toby me. I saw Toby Maguire at the what is it? Is it Grand Central Market in downtown LA?
Oh, you
Really?
did?
He
Really?
looked so concerned. Yeah, he looked.
Yeah, yeah.
Did
He
not
does
want to be
that.
recognized.
There's
yeah.
montages of him like doing that,
Yeah.
looking out for paparazzi.
But I think he was like opening a restaurant or something. But he had like his assistant. Oh shit, Spider-Man! And he was just like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've
Like,
seen him.
whoa,
I've
he
seen him on
looks
social
busy.
media.
But yeah, I mean, I love Korean movies.
Mm.
There's a lot of great Korean films, like older ones, like Old Boy.
Mm.
There's this movie called JSA.
Oh, joint security area.
Yeah, it's
oh, I
really
like.
good,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one's really good.
It's about these two North Korean, four soldiers, two South Korean, two North Korean. They work at the DMZ, and then they become friends.
Just the demilitarized zone of like a place
Yeah.
where it's like it's not North Korea or South. It's like just a
Mm.
So,
like a
yeah.
blank slate of land where
Mm.
it's just a no man's land, but
Right.
it's between. But they have to interact. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic Korean melodrama.
Mm.
It's like, oh, long lost brothers, become friends, and then there's a crime.
Huh.
Yeah, I forget who the director is. It might be Bong Joon-ho,
Oh, really?
I think, or I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But yeah, but there's also another good Korean movie called Friend, Chingu. Is really that's about four friends that grew up in this small town. One's the smart one, one's a clown, and then two of them are gangsters.
Mm.
And then two gangsters end up becoming rivals as they get older. So like if the movie takes place in three parts, like when they're kids, and then when they're teenagers, and then when they're adults.
Oh.
And so when they're adults, they come back to the hometown. The smart guy is like a professor visiting the hometown, and then two rivals are at it,
Mm.
and they're like about to kill each other.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's a really cool movie. Very Korean, like
Yeah.
a lot of Korean culture in it. Very Korean machoism. Like
Mm.
if you want to know what Korean guys think is tough, like that's a good movie to see.
Korean movies are the best.
Yeah,
They really are.
a lot of vengeance.
A lot of vengeance. The Vengeance trilogy.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Han? You know what Han is? Korean word Han.
Uh-uh.
Like
I,
Korean people say we have Han. Han is like refers to like this deep K rage. Have you ever
Maybe
heard K
Bobby.
rage?
Maybe Bobby has
Korean
something
rage.
of
I've
that.
not
It's
heard
like
that.
this thing that like Korean people have. It's like K rage. It's like this inner rage we have. We hold it because we like Koreans. We're not really good at expressing our emotions. We like to keep things bottled in, and it just explodes.
Mm.
And like that's kind of like I think what I believe is it's like historical because Korea's throughout Korea's history they've always been invaded by either China, Mongolia, or like Japan, and now each other.
Mm.
And so like there's always been like this crazy. I feel like deep down in our genes, like
Mm.
Yeah.
some shit's always gonna go down, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, it's an incredible list. I know you'll have one too, Pete.
My list, yeah, it's always hard to pick your like favorite movies because
Mm.
they range so much. But The Godfather and Lawrence of Arabia, I always say these two movies, and they're really different. Godfather, me, because I grew up really Sicilian and immersed in
Mm.
the Sicilian culture. So not just a great movie for anybody, but that feeling of family about that Sicilian family. Sicilians are really, really intense.
Mm.
So they could be, intense, about anything. They can be tense about killing, but they're also intense about loving. They're also
Mm.
intense about food. They're also intense about their traditions. There's
Yeah.
there's intensity everywhere. So that's how it's like
Yeah.
you don't fuck with
What's up with
Sicilians.
that?
It's
Is it the weather?
I think well in
That
in
Roman blood, dude?
you know what it is. So Sicily is just was looked down. I was like, hey, there's a bunch of peasants there,
Yeah.
right? Northern Italy is like you got Dante Alighieri, you got like Florence, you got all the philosophers and painters, and you have all the aristocrats up there, and it always was that. And then the South was always this like unsophisticated peasant, um, kind of people, rough people. And Sicily is right there, right by Northern Africa, right, a prime place to get invaded. So really, the Sicilian people are tough people because they're like, we got to protect ourselves from these
Yeah.
motherfuckers. Like that's
Mm.
kind of
That's great. Yeah.
how the mafia started is like, oh
Mm.
well, it's people that wanted to protect the land, and they got together and they fought off people that were trying to fuck around.
Mm.
But then like anything does, once you have that power and once you have that dominance, you start being selfish with it. You start,
Mm.
you know what I mean? It evolves to something else. But they took that, brought it to the United States. So you got The Godfather, right? Where
Yeah.
they're operating above the law for the longest time. I've always been fascinated by that,
Yeah.
by the Cosa Nostra, right? Where it's like, hey, they had this thing where that no one could take them down.
Mm.
They had all this power, and it's like the government does that. Everybody does that if they could, but here's somebody that didn't have anything. They came to this country, had nothing, and they created this thing that nobody could touch for the longest time. And it gives you that kind of rags to rich story where it's like, oh, you got all these billionaires, you got all these people that come into power, right? And you're like, oh, fuck them, because they came in, and they their kid was born, and they came to power. It's like, yeah, like
Mm.
that's that of course, but somebody that doesn't have anything, street guys,
Mm.
being able to gain that, and have some sense of like culture, whatever. Obviously, in later years it got crazy.
Mm.
Do
There's
you think
always
every ethnicity had their form of
yeah. I mean,
mafia?
Irish,
Yeah.
Jewish, like everybody had their version of it,
Mhm.
and there are extremely. I'm not glorifying it, but
Mm.
The Godfather does, so it feels like
Yeah.
it feels cool. It feels
They definitely did it right. They were classy about it.
They did it.
They look cool doing it.
Yeah, it's about family, right? It's
Yeah.
it's about family, but there is a really really dark side. Like there's literally serial killers, in the mafia.
Mm.
No, literally just
Yeah.
hundreds of people, right?
Mm.
So Godfather didn't show that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like Goodfellas did,
Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely my top five.
right?
Goodfellas, yeah.
And that's another
So
one.
good.
So like Godfather love, Goodfellas, it's just the rawness of
Mm.
Scorsese.
Yeah.
The beauty of Francis Ford Coppola. We go the scenes in Sicily, Michael Corleone. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The beautiful score, it's just everything in that movie, right? There's so much beauty, but then there's intensity, right?
Mm.
There's both. Goodfellas is in your face,
Mm.
man.
Dude,
It's
yeah,
like
that's a good
Brutal,
analogy. Like
yeah.
classical versus rock almost. Yeah, the way.
drugs and womanizing and just
Yeah.
even though Sonny did in The Godfather, but
Scorsese always had good editors. Like
Mm.
all his movies are like flawlessly edited.
oh, so man, so good. So and Lawrence Arabia, David Lean. That movie, I do like desert movies. I do like
Mm.
epic movies, and that movie for some reason I don't know what it is. The sense of adventure in the desert
Mm.
where there's nothing there, and here's this man's quest. Every time you watch Lawrence and Lawrence of Arabia, you're like, I don't know who this is. I don't even know he's is he loyal to the English? Is he loyal to the Arabs? Is he just for himself? He's an enigma. So every time you watch it, you're trying to figure him out.
Mm.
And that's how it starts with his funeral. The movie starts and they're like, who was Lawrence? Well, he was this and that. And you watch it and you're like, I think he's this,
Mm.
but you don't really know. And that's what the elusiveness of his character is what keeps you going back. Plus the beauty of the shots, and it's one of those movies that saw for the first time. I'm like, it's one of my favorite movies. I just knew it instantly. Another movie. There's so many movies, but one of the ones that's probably impacted me. This scene has impacted me the most. I watched it during the pandemic. It's a movie called Come and See. Have you seen Come and See?
The horror movie?
It's a
Come and See?
is a 1985 Soviet Union film.
Oh, no, yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And it tore me up because of the philosophical statement that it makes in the end.
Mm.
It's a war film. It's the German invasion of Belarus, and it follows this kid around who joins the Russian army, and he sees all these horrors and everything, and the ending statement that it makes has like never left my brain, and that's the beauty of film. You get that one scene where it has impacted you. You've never forgotten that scene
Mm.
because it makes such a, and that director didn't make anything else after that because he couldn't give anything more creatively after that movie.
Yeah.
It was just, that's all he could give.
It's a heavy movie.
It's
Heavy.
extremely heavy,
Yeah.
and it stays with you. I haven't watched it again because it's kind of a one-time watch, but I'll never
Yeah.
I'll never forget it because it's beautiful and horrible,
Totally, yeah.
and that's what you want to do when you leave the theater. You remember
For sure.
that thing that impacted you, that you connected with on a human level, and that's
Mm.
what we're all trying to do. Is like, hey, we're trying to connect.
Mm.
And if you have something that's surface level, that's a bad movie. When you watch something, you're like, but I don't care about this person and this character. It's like, well, you didn't do a good job. You have to connect on a
Right.
human level to really get that emotion,
Yeah.
and then you go, well, that's a masterpiece because I felt
Yeah.
something there. Yeah. Yeah.
I love Thin Red Line for the same reason. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like beautiful
Oh.
and horrific at the same time.
It's shot so
Yeah.
beautifully. Oh
'Cause
my God.
like that movie was shot in a very verite way, and it wasn't. I don't think that was the style at the time. I think he was kind of like breaking the style. They shot like millions of feet of film. Like there was like another 3 hours that they never showed,
Mm.
and like they just cut, and it was already long. It was like already almost 3 hours. So
weren't they just shooting like, wasn't Terrence Malick just like a bunch of nature shots? and
yeah, a lot
stuff?
of nature shot. Like Adrian Brody was like the lead, and then he became like he had 2 scenes. He was shot as a lead during production, and
Yeah.
then they just cut him out in the editing scene.
Wow.
Yes, but like, have you seen that film before?
I have not.
So it follows like a bunch of it follows like 20 or to 30 characters, and like they're all in different ranks, and like takes place during the Pacific Theater, and they're like some Filipino island, and like they're trying to take this hill from the Japanese, and like it follows the story of from a private to the command. John Travolta is like the admiral,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and like Nick Nolte is like this like sergeant or something, and then like. Yeah, Sean Penn's in it, and like Jim Caviezel like
Yep.
defects.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and like it's just the storytelling is really fascinating. I think Malik peaked with Thin Red Line in my opinion.
No.
Because Tree of Life is great, but it's just the story, the plot there's no plot to that movie, right?
No. It's just
But
pure beauty. It's like,
it's-
oh, this is a beautiful movie. Yeah.
But Thin Red Line, he kind of mixes both like a sensible story and like these beautiful like I don't even want to say abstract. They're like kind of dream. They're like style. It's mood. They're like mood shots, and it's like kind of like these shots that, You know, sometimes you just like look off into the distance throughout your day, and you just notice
That's
the beauty of life.
that's a great
That's
way to
kind of
describe
like
it.
what he does, you know.
Huh.
And
And like,
it's very calming in a war setting. Like to be
mhm,
like, wow, I feel a sense of calm, yet they're literally fighting
yeah,
people. So that complexity of emotions
yeah,
is yeah,
the world's
Hmm.
complicated, man.
it
It
is.
is. Yeah.
Battlefields in the most beautiful place in the world.
Yeah,
Hmm.
That's so like it's so ironic, isn't it?
yeah,
Hmm. Like an oxymoron.
You know,
yeah.
Well, and that's exactly what I expected. An incredible list of films that I will definitely try to watch because I have not seen a
yeah.
lot of those.
There's another My Sassy Girl. You should watch that. That's a Korean film. It's like
Mm.
the
Oh,
first
I've heard.
big
Oh
Korean
yeah, I've heard of that.
rom com that hit it off.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's based off a blogger. She blogged this story about like meeting this dude and how they met again years later. But yeah, it's really romantic. It's really
Interesting.
funny. Yeah,
Oh,
really good humor.
have you seen Good Time?
I have seen Good Time.
Yes, good. That's a
I always recommend because you can recommend like the classics to people, but like
these are
having one of
like
those fun,
the modern classics.
like well paced.
Yeah.
I always recommend like a well paced movie because some people might be like, yeah, I tried watching Lawrence Arabia, but I don't have like 3.5 hours,
Mm.
But like something that just like
Yeah.
engaging all the way. Not I don't recommend Uncut Gems because it's like people are like, oh, I had a heart attack, like
Mm.
you know. But yeah, I always recommend Good Time
They're
because
very similar. Yeah.
it's that feeling, but without feeling like you're gonna have a heart attack. It's just constantly moving,
Mm.
Yeah.
and I always like to recommend
It's a
those
great
films
film,
that
yeah.
you like. You're in it from the start from the start to the end just because of the pacing. It just works. You don't tune out. You're like
Mm.
you're
Very
you're
intense.
in it.
Yeah.
You're in it the entire time. And I think like for instance like Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't mind film like letting you relax for a bit, that it's not always in your face, that things can take its time, because that's part of life too, is just kind of like let things breathe. Some people would call that boring.
Mm.
Right.
But I mean, people watch The Godfather and say it's
Yeah.
boring. It's like, but you have to let it.
Mm.
First of all, you have to be in the mood for it.
Mm.
You can't be like, I was up all night the night before, and I'm going to turn on The Godfather. You're going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
You have to like you take the time with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm.
But
Let
then
it
I'll
marinate,
I'll
yeah.
recommend those like better paced films that you can just
Yes.
put on and
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Goodfellas
like
is that.
yeah, Goodfellas is that. Forrest Gump is that.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
another. Yeah, it's like you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
start that movie at any moment and finish it. Like it's that well done.
Yeah.
It's like it's so good. What else is that? Like there was another movie that Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Boogie Nights.
Boogie
Yeah.
Nights is a great film. Like you could start that anywhere too.
Yeah.
But like I love my favorite of PTA is Magnolia. Have you seen
Hmm.
Magnolia?
I've not.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great film.
Like, yeah.
It's about 5 different characters that kind of exist in the same universe.
Hmm.
They're all going through their own trauma.
Hmm.
Like they're kind of confronting their trauma. And yeah, it's great. It's
Really
like a
good.
drama shot on anamorphic Super 35. Like that's
Hmm.
unheard of now. And like I don't know. PTA is a genius.
Yes.
There Will Be Blood. Have you seen that?
I have seen
Yeah,
that.
that's a
Yeah.
great film. Yeah.
Mm.
Wait, did you see Boogie Nights or no?
I have not.
Oh, Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
is-
Boogie Nights is probably his best. In my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
His best. Yeah. There's no movie like that movie.
Mm.
That's what I love about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sophie Coppola does the same thing to me.
Mm.
Like she makes movies that like, oh, I could never make a movie like that because I'm not a female. But also like her perspective is so interesting.
Mm.
I enjoy directors who have a very unique,
Yeah. Those all
not just trying to make
yeah.
a popular movie, but kind of telling a specific story. Yeah.
Yeah, make something only they can make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those will always be good, just because they're so personal. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That reads really well.
Mm. Exactly, and
It's
that's
about emotions.
exactly, and when
Yeah.
it's what you feel, and I'd just like to thank you guys for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for
I
having
really
us.
appreciate every time I talk to you guys. It's always an interesting conversation, and so I'm just happy to like document it here.
Nice. What do you think of Bitcoin?
A Bitcoin.
Yeah. Are you into it? Are you gonna buy some?
I don't know about
What does
that.
Gen Z think of Bitcoin?
What is Gen Z? I mean, I don't think it had the.
Yeah.
Do you think about it ever?
I mean, I don't think it has the greatest reputation
Yeah,
because
that's
of
a good
what
point.
happened with like Tom Brady and all that. But
Mhm.
I guess we'll see if Bitcoin comes back. But
Wait, you told me your favorite movies.
I did.
Can you refresh my memory
Yeah.
here?
I mean, they fluctuate so much,
But I know
but
it's hard. It's hard,
it's
but
hard.
like you gave me a few and I
Yeah.
forgot what.
Oh, The Dark Knight. When
Sure.
I love
Yeah,
La La
great film.
Land.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
All in, yeah.
Jerry Maguire.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
was
right.
the one.
Yeah.
That was the one. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, that's a great film. Yeah,
yeah.
This
it's a very
sport.
soft lighting. That's what I
Yeah.
remember. Like, oh, they use like bounce board stuff for this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that movie too. Yeah.
Yeah. Point Break is
Oh,
one of
that
my
was the other
favorites.
one. Yeah,
That's
Point
another one.
Break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Break. Another crazy like
Action
Yeah.
movie.
no like I have a thing with like when they play football in movies
Mm.
and like they always do it wrong. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the
top,
big
like the
scene.
new Top Gun. They
Yeah.
had 2 balls. What the fuck is that?
What's
Who
happening?
the fuck is playing football with 2 balls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in Point Break, they kind of have it with all the headlights, you know, on the beach. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, no one's playing football. Like
No.
Yeah.
that. No one's like looking like a
Yeah.
freaking dogfight or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, thank you, man.
Of course.
Enjoyed this discussion. This is cool.
Yeah. This was fun. It was so great hearing your guys' insight and just getting to have this chat. I learned a
Yeah, man.
lot and heard a lot about some great movies. As always, this is Ryan Zicast with the Zicast, where everyone has a story. Signing off. Thank you so much for watching.